think I can speak for all of you out there, and certainly I know for us here, this has been a really beautiful, beautiful day. I feel these young people have given us a wonderful experience, and they have shared the best of themselves. I know what we are going to try to do now is to put on our thinking caps and try to give you some concrete advice and some suggestions, not specifically to each of you about your music or something like that, but more in a larger overview of what can we do to improve each of us are performing. And before we do that, I have asked Ann Stockton, the chairman of the World Harp Congress, to present to our wonderful young people, and again I call them my jewels, the jewels of our Congress, to present them with certificates from the World Harp Congress, which the distinguished panel has signed, and also comments are written suggestions, which you can take or leave, but you will have them with you. So if I may, I will call out your name, and if you will, I would like it if you would come up one at a time, and Mrs. Stockton will give you your, certificate. And we also wanted you each to have a copy of the World Harp Congress Review, which features you and with your picture in it. Many of you have it, but we thought it would be nice for you to have an extra copy. So, thank you. If I could first start with Jana Boušková from Czechoslovakia. From Germany. From Germany. Berghout from Germany. Franziska Reinmiedel from Germany. Nicoletta Sanzin from Italy. And that's Giulia Rosa Celeste from Italy. Risako Hayakawa from Japan. Jung Kwak from Korea. Participant, and we're delighted to have him, Angel Padilla Crespo from Mexico. Petra van der Heide from the Netherlands. Marta Fonquet Ruiz from Spain. I think you might be interested to know that some of these performers are only 15. I know some are 15 and 16. I think nobody younger than that, but some of them are still very young. Sarah O'Brien from Switzerland. Vanessa Gong from Taiwan. And our Americans, Gillian Bennett, USA. Sonia Inglefield, USA. Kreutziger, USA. You know, our wonderful panel has really not had enough time to write their comments in their own language and then rewrite them in English. So Madame Dulova has written her comments, but they are not yet in your book because she is having to translate them now from Russian into French or English. I'm not sure what, but we will see to it that you get them. Please ask her for it. Don't leave the room without getting them. I think she has them. I can have them passed around, so we will. I would like to say a little bit about the future focus on youth concerts. We have had many discussions, the Board of Directors of the World Harp Congress, while we've been here in Vienna, discussing ways that we can be even more helpful to the young, talented harpists throughout the world. One of the things we have suggested and we hope to do is to start a major fund campaign to raise funds to enable some young people to come to these congresses who otherwise would not be able to come. How about that? I sense enthusiasm for this idea, and I might just tell you that we already have a chairman of this financing committee who is seeking to raise funds for this, and it is our treasurer, Beverly Western-Hain. And you will see her throughout the week, and any of you should be interested in specifically earmarking funds to enable more young people to come to our congresses. This is one of our most urgent projects. So if any of you should wish to make a donation, we already have the format in place to do so. The other question I'd like to address while all of you are here together is that it would be very important in the future that all of the teachers throughout the world are aware of our focus on youth concert in time enough that they can then have their students send in audition tapes. We will announce the repertoire always in advance, very soon, or not the repertoire, but the requirements and the deadlines. We will announce it in the next World Harp Congress reviews, in the next year at least. So I would just ask you all, stay with the World Harp Congress, subscribe, receive your journal, and you will be aware of exactly what the details are for the next Focus on Youth concert. Now, I would like to ask my distinguished colleagues and panel some specific suggestions and ideas that they might be willing to share with you all. I feel that as we have been sitting listening to you, one of the subjects that has constantly arisen has been the question of tone quality. And I thought, knowing all of us are keenly interested in tone quality, I think you all have heard great differences in sound. Sometimes, one harp is newer than another, but still, underneath that, there is a real question of tone production and what can we do to project our sound more. So perhaps can I ask Madame Berghout if she would have some suggestions for tone quality.
Thank you. Well, there is a lot to say, but I will try to do it only in a few words. What I observed is that most of you have a very good sound, but what I missed sometimes is the difference between the real forte and the real piano. Because the harp is an instrument where all the vibrations go on, you have to work very hard, not only on a beautiful forte, but especially also on a very expressive pianissimo. The position of the finger must be a little bit different. Sometimes you don't hear anymore when some play piano or pianissimo, and that's a pity. When you work on the sound, try it out in the forte with all your passion and all your intensity, but also on the pianissimo, because a pianissimo must be heard in the biggest hall. Don't forget that. And the second thing what I should like to say about sound is think of the composer and of the period in which he was living. To make a good interpretation of Baroque music, you have this strict forte and strict piano. To take it in the romantic period, you have to make crescendi beautifully in the sound to build it up. Go back with a diminuendo. That works so much on the sound. So think of the style in which you are playing and produce the sound that certain and special period of the music asks for you. And also that it has never to be hard, but it must be full of beautiful forte, but of a very sensitive and singing pianissimo. And that's what I would like to tell to you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Suggestions for you regarding tone quality.
Thank you, Susann. I consider that tone is a very important thing, and so many people think, oh, the harp, it's just the nature of the instrument, but I don't believe that. I think you can have a beautiful legato singing tone, but it takes time. And I heard a wonderful quotation that I want to tell you, because I think it's so true. The road to success is always under construction. And I think to get a beautiful sound, it takes a long time. And it has to be done slowly. And if you're after something, nothing is boring. But if you're not after something, it can be very boring to work that slowly. Because you have to start and see how long can you make a tone last on the harp. You know, we don't have the pedal to make legato. So we have to make singing from one tone to another. We can't have holes in between. And many times on the second octave they'll say, oh, this is the nature of the instrument. Well, it's hard to make it up there, but you can still make it if you have the desire. But you have to sing. You have to sing in your heart. You have to feel it here. You have to know the kind of sound you want before you play it. And you must give color when you play. The harp has so many colors that if you just will feel that inside, and before you go to play a phrase or anything, think how you want it. Think. You must have a picture of some kind. You know, we're like painters. We don't use the brush, but we use our fingers and our mind. And that is very important. And I think if you will just try it and do some exercises, thinking about that, you will find in a month's time, if you keep at it, you will have a different kind of sound and you'll be very pleased, I hope.
Thank you very much. And I'd like to ask Vera Dulova also for her suggestions about tone specifically, and now that Brooke will be translating for her into English, I believe. So she's going to speak in Russian, and we'll hear it in English.
develop every finger in turn. With сегодня слушали много разных звуков, то есть разных звуков.
We today have heard many different interpretations of sound and tone.
Но нельзя забывать, что все играли на разных арфах.
But we mustn't forget that each one of us played on a different harp.
Недавно у нас был конкурс «Большой театр». Играло много артистов. У нас все играли на том инструменте, который им были предоставлены. Но соло, балетное соло игралось, все играли на одной и той же арфе. Вот тогда можно судить о звуке.
Recently we had a big competition in the Bolshoi Theatre, and everybody played on their own harp, but the ballet solos were played on the same harp. And by this method, by playing on the same harp, it was possible to judge each player properly.
Конечно, необходимо добиваться очень большой техники. Сейчас все идет, вылетает в космос и так далее. И, конечно, и арфы стали звучать по-другому, и техника стала очень большая.
Of course, it is essential now to have the very best technique. Technique is in every walk of life. We have cosmonauts, and it is essential that the technique be fundamental to our playing.
Но нельзя технику ставить выше интерпретации музыкальной.
But one can't put technique above musical interpretation itself.
Собственно, вот очень важен, конечно, ритм, но это я говорю такие обычные.
Of course, rhythm is very important, but I'm telling you well-known everyday things.
Но очень хорошо сказал, написано в WOHC. Он сказал, что если стоит метроном, и человек играет точно по метроному, но он сам не чувствует этого, он не будет играть.
WOHC said very, very sanely and wisely, if you hear a metronome, if you have a metronome, and the musician plays only by the metronome and not in another way, he can't really be considered a musician.
И дальше я благодарю всех моих дорогих коллег за то, что мы имеем возможность вас прослушать. Все получили удовольствие, а одних больше, других меньше. Но мы старались не быть злыми. Но мы, по-моему, очень все правильно.
I want to thank my dear colleagues for giving us the possibility of hearing all of you. Some of you played well, some of you played less well, but we have all enjoyed it and learned a great deal.
И мы нашли, сегодня слушали очень интересные новые произведения. Да, и я уже что-то научилась. Я научился так.
We've heard a very interesting new composition by Susann McDonald, and I've already learned something.
Dulova, for your wonderful and very inspiring comments, and all of them. I would only second what they said. I might just say one thing more in line with what Phia Berghout mentioned earlier, that it's so important when you perform that you don't play just to yourself, that your playing becomes then too interior. After all, you must play to the banquet hall. The entire room must be filled with your sound, must feel your own distinct personality, and you must make a projecting outside of yourself. It can't be playing to yourself, it must be playing out there. I feel another very important subject for a performing artist is the choice of repertoire. We all have a choice of what we're going to play, and as our young people know, we didn't limit it. We allowed you to choose whatever you wanted to play, within the limits of the time that we have. I wish to congratulate especially those who played a new piece, who who went to the trouble to seek out a new piece of music, either from their country or a young composer. And I feel you're definitely on the right track, because I think our young harpists, you, must do everything they can to encourage composers to write for the harp. And the greatest thing you can do is to play their music and to work with them and help them in writing for the harp. So I might just ask Phia Berghout if she would have some suggestions to make in terms of not just this repertoire, but suggestions perhaps for building programs that you have built many, many over the years.
Well, it is that always you learn and you get experience by playing. And I must say that I learned so very much by playing and making programs for schools. Then I played many years, every year in prisons. Observe the reaction of the audition. You play wherever you can. Think out to what city are you going, but always make a choice of important compositions. Can be something new, can be something classical, but play good and important pieces, because all the other musicians don't know so much about the harp, and when they say, oh, they are playing not good pieces, they play transcriptions only, but we have a good repertoire, and we must go to composers, we must inspire the composers, but listen to your audience. It's so interesting to make programs. It's a wonderful thing. To what country you go, to what people you go. Try to make and to listen and to talk with them, and always try to bring the best for your instrument, but we have all the tasks to bring to the audience. So the audience must like it, and you can play modern music when you bring it in the right way. When you play for young people, like I did in schools, we made a short introduction, and then we could play the most new and modern compositions. And also, they like the impressionistic music. We have such a big repertoire. Try to look, to go around to editors, find the good compositions we have on our instrument, and you will enjoy more and more playing for the audience. Because that's what we like to do. We like to give it, what you have learned, and to bring it, what the composers have made, to the audience. So then it is your whole life a lesson, and you learn more and more, which is a beautiful repertoire, and you younger ones will make more and more good repertoire for our instrument when you talk and go to the composers. That's what I like to say.
May I just ask how many of you are not understanding this and wish it would be translated into German or French? May I see, is there a problem, or can...
Wir müssen mal eben wissen, wer von Ihnen eine Übersetzung braucht, entweder ins Französische oder Deutsch. Könnten Sie sich mal bitte melden? Wie viele Leute können das Englische nicht verstehen?
I think we will then try to continue in English, and we will be here all week, so if you want to ask us our thoughts, we will be ready anytime to share them again. Eileen Malone?
Thank you, Sue. I agree very much with what Phia had to say, but I also want to say that if a composer comes to you and they say, I don't know what to write, I'd like to write for the harp, but I don't know what to do. I always say, please write what you feel. I think if you limit a composer and say that you can't, you have to do this, you have to do that, you've taken his inspiration away. And I think, let him write what he thinks and then bring it to you. Because many times you can fix certain things harmonically and suggest better ways of doing the same thing or give the same idea that he would like to present. And so I think you should encourage them to write how they feel, not just because it's a harp. We mustn't feel that we're just something special. We can't have this on the harp. This is the way I feel about it.
Thank you, Eileen. And Vera Dulova, some suggestions about repertoire choices?
I'm quite totally in agreement with everything that's been said, and I don't really think I've got anything to add.
I doubt that. I feel another subject which should be of great interest to young performers is the whole question of stage presence. I feel that we saw some very different presentations in that regard today. It seems like yesterday. It's been a long day. But I feel that it is very important that you realize the minute you step onto the stage, you should, in a sense, take on a different personality. You're not just the girl around the corner. You must imagine yourself already a very fine, professional artist. And that implies, of course, many things, but certainly a very good carriage, a great deal of self-confidence, even though you're very frightened inside. The audience should never suspect that. And so I feel sometimes we say, oh, it's not important. It's not important how I look. To the public, how you present yourself is very important. And I don't know, can I ask Phia Berghout how she agrees with me on this subject?
Well, I can only say I agree completely with Susan, but I think you must. I will tell you a story that happened once when a conductor was waiting to go onto the stage with a great soloist. And the conductor asked him, shall we wait a moment or shall we go? He said, we wait 1 week. So that's what we all feel when we have to go onto the stage. But we can't wait a week, we have to go. While concentrate and keep smiling, not too much, not overdo it. Be yourself. You look nice when you be yourself, always. Keep nicely dressed. Be happy that you can go to perform, even if you are very nervous, but don't show it. And you will be less nervous when you come to your instrument. You feel comfortable. The instrument must be beautiful, clean, and not with strings like this everywhere. It must be completely everything in order. And well, train a little bit to bow, to sing. That's not easy, but don't overdo it. We are not mannequins. We have to do it properly like we are. And when you be yourself, your personality will come out, and the audience will like that. The only thing I can say, it's experience that does it. Play as much as you can. Play in small groups. Play your repertoire for friends. Play everywhere where you have a chance to play. And then it will come. All the other things. Thank you.
Eileen, would you have some comments to add on this important subject?
I don't think very much, because I agree with what Phia said. It's so true. The only thing that will give you the confidence that you can walk out is to be sure that you know your things well. And not only by the fingers, but by the mind. Not to follow your fingers around on the string, but to really know what you're going to play, and you play it in your mind before you come out on the stage. I think that helps a lot.
Thank you. And Vera? Some advice on stage appearance and stage presence?
It seemed to me that everybody today was very well dressed indeed. Each one according to their own individual personality. And everyone seemed to hold themselves very well. I think that's about all I have to say about
Very good. In other words, she liked you very much, obviously. Then I would like to open to a little broader discussion, actual advice for people of this age group right now. In the continuation, the preparation for the career, in other words, what lies ahead for you after you played at the World Harp Congress in Vienna. Could I ask Phia Berghout for some suggestions to you as to some ideas? She has said already, the most important is play. Play every chance you get, and that is certainly true.
I could add one thing to what I have said. I always listened to all great violin players, to pianists, to singers, to the greatest soloists. I was very lucky myself that I came young into such an orchestra as the Concertgebouw. But I never went home when I didn't have to play in the orchestra, in the pieces. I always listened, because by listening to performers, the greatest performers, even if they played quite different, you learn every time. Next to practicing, practicing is never finished. I regret it a little bit now that I'm old that it will never finish, but it goes on your whole life. But listen to great musicians and take over the lines of the interpretation, the sounds, the phrasing, the breathing. That's also a thing. The breathing is do I say that right? No, the breathing. Yeah. Like a singer has to do it. And when you talk or when you write, every phrase starts with a capital and finishes with a point behind the phrase. Do that a little bit in music, not overdone, but think how the composition is made, how the harmonic analysis is, how the melodic analysis of a piece is, and think of that. And you do that more and more, and listening for that reason also to great soloists and to great performances, that your whole performance will be more and more quiet, more and more controlled, and more beautiful. I think so. This is
I might add that I feel that in our times there are so many fine young harpists that competition becomes extremely stiff for every new orchestra position, for certainly for even the concert performing, for teaching positions. Everything is more crowded, and it means that each of you must have the finest possible preparation. And by that I would say even the broadest based preparation, so that you become better musicians, if I can say that you should intensify your musical education and prolong your musical education. Looking ahead really to possibilities of earning a living. I know at your ages you're thinking, oh, I just want to perform, or get an orchestra position. You perhaps don't look ahead to think that 9/10 of you, I assume and I hope, will one day be teaching. And to look ahead and to study some pedagogy and to consider that as a career and to prepare for it. I think so many times young people don't think that they're ever going to teach. So they sort of turn off that whole side of harp playing. And nowadays, I would say 9/10 of our young and older performers do support themselves to some degree by teaching. And I would just say to keep your minds open to that. Eileen?
Well, everything's been said, almost, I think. I think that you should do everything in the line of playing. I think it develops you. I think even if you play some jazz arrangements, you get to know your instrument, and I think that's very important. And you use, if you have a chance to play radio or television, all of that is very important and will help you to know your instrument. Perhaps somebody will say, oh, you must modulate from this piece and be ready to be in the key of the next piece. I used to have to do that, and nobody taught me how, because it became a fad, and everybody was doing it, and they expected you to do it. You'd be in a certain key, and then the announcer would make a statement, and you would have to be ready in the next key for the orchestra to play. But you must listen to yourself. That's the most important thing, I think, is to hear how you play. I think many people that play do not hear themselves, and I think that's very important.
Thank you, Chris, so much. And Vera, would you have some specific suggestions for career preparation?
Я хочу сказать о том, что развитие, конечно, необходимо музыкальное, обязательно. Конечно, надо слушать много музыки, но нельзя забывать и о искусстве живописи, о скульптуре, потому что когда вы играете сочинение, допустим, 17 века, вы обязательно должны идти в музей, смотреть того времени художников. Когда вы играете современную музыку, вы должны смотреть картины Шагала, Малевича и так далее. Надо себя развивать.
Of course, I agree absolutely with what my colleagues have said about the development of your playing and the technique and all the advice they have given you. But please don't forget that it's important to know about the art of the time of the piece which you are going about to play. Please don't forget that if you're playing a 17th century piece, to go to the museum and look at 17th century art. And the same applies to the Impressionists and to the contemporaries. Go and study their works, and you will find that this will help you playing the pieces that you are learning at the time.
Give each of my colleagues a chance if they have any other words of wisdom to impart, and then I think we will close our discussion and realize that during the week we will all be here very much available if any of you would like to ask us more specifically for suggestions individually. I know we would be happy to do it, and I invite the entire Congress, as I said earlier, to make an opportunity to discuss the music that you heard these young people play. I think this would be very invaluable for them. Phia, would you have any other closing comments that you would like to make?
Well, I think you always must look for new developments also for your instrument. I'm one of the oldest of you all, and I just started half a year ago to have contact with poets, very good poets, and they are saying they're reading their poems, and I was improvising and looking for music around it, and people like that so much. So that's one example. Play wherever you can. Play in churches. People like that more and more. Play for weddings. But look for the good repertoire for that. Because it is a difficult time. I know there are much more harpists everywhere in every country than there ever were before. So you have to look for all possibilities, and at the same time, whatever you do it as good as you can. That is the best propaganda for your instrument that you can make. But think it over. You are young, you will have special ideas. It can be in every country a little bit different. But there are so many possibilities to bring the harp, to bring music, and like my dear Vera said, look at all the different arts. And think of it, how beautiful it can be. Bring arts together. Don't forget it. Go to museums and ask if you can play the opening of a new exposition. Go there. But so look then for pieces in the style of the exposition. Read poems. Try, what should I play there? What can I do? And you will have a beautiful future, I'm sure, because you all are very talented. I enjoyed it very much to listen to you. But it is a difficult world, and not everybody has a job in an orchestra. But there are so many possibilities. Look out for it, where you can bring the beauty of your instrument and the beauty, first of all, of music. And I think that you will find your way. Thank you very much.
Malone has some parting words of advice.
I just want to say that I think you're all wonderful. I enjoy hearing you all play. You all are different, but you all have something to give. And don't forget when you play, you must give of yourself. That's what makes you different from someone else. That you have something to give that someone else doesn't have. And that's why you bring in the crowds. They want to hear you more than they want to hear someone else. So keep that in mind when you play. Plan to give your audience something. That's so important. And as you have had a lot of good advice from Phia and Vera, they have said so many nice things, and they're all so true, so try to put them to effect.
Thank you, Ellie. Vera, can I ask you for some closing remarks?
Я хочу сказать, что уровень был очень высокий. Пожалуй, такого уровня я не запомню, как мы вот слушаем сегодня. Причем это еще не закончено.
I would like to say that I thought the level of playing was very, very high, higher than we've heard before. And after all, we haven't yet finished our conference.
Yes, we're only just beginning. So, I'd like to once more congratulate all of you. Thank you for coming from so many different countries, from so far away, many of you, and at quite a personal sacrifice for many of you. I wish you much, much success, continued success in all you do, and I hope that now that you are members of the World Harp Congress, that you will continue, even though you may grow a little older and don't qualify for the focus on youth concerts. I hope that you will come and make this an important part of your lives and contribute to the harp world in your individual countries. Thank you, God bless you, and I think Josef Molnar has some announcements to make.
Very happy as the organizer of this congress that something could happen like today and that we have so wonderful persons here. One thing I would like, is the photographer still here? Who was taking the picture? You see, there was the request of the participants and all the panelists taking pictures. Today, if they come on later when I finish my remark, okay? You do. It's all right. Is the photographer still out? But you see, the person before something happens like that, then I want to tell you. Also we had again a very wonderful day. It was really at the beginning. Also ich möchte Folgendes sagen. Ich habe mich sehr gefreut, dass also diese Personen hier gesprochen haben und den Kongress wirklich wieder einen Höhepunkt gegeben haben. Und ich habe gefragt, ob man ein Bild von allen Teilnehmern aufnehmen könnte und mit den Panelisten zusammen. Das nächste ist, ich möchte euch jetzt Folgendes sagen. Heute ist das Eröffnungskonzert mit den Bamberger Symphonikern und der Eschenbach und mit der großen Solistin, der Marisa von Robles, im Arkadenhof des Rathauses. Der Arkadenhof des Rathauses ist, wo wir gestern waren, in dem Rathaus. Man kann zu Fuß hingehen. Wir haben heute keine Autobusse reserviert. Sie können ein Taxi bestellen, wir haben aber keine Autobusse reserviert. I only want to tell you that the concert today, it's an opening concert with the Bamberg Symphony under Eschenbach and with our great soloist Marisa Robles. The concert will take place at the courtyard of the City Hall. It's just around the corner here. You have to go from behind to the City Hall. And if you take your tickets, everything with you. The next thing is that we have really the honor, Mr. Salvi will have a reception at the Rathauskeller. In Deutsch is it like Rathauskeller, it's always something special down there, it's very good with drinking and everything.